mirrors that you see in this event were created by Cameron because he is the communications director for the Students for Free Thought. He is going to be talking about incarceration rates and demographics. Before he starts, because he has a PowerPoint presentation, I'm going to have the speakers will just move so that we can watch this presentation. There we go. So now you're out. Sorry.
Is this okay for you guys? Lighting? It's cool?
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Daniel. Alright, so, I'm going to do this a little bit differently. I feel kind of bad because I didn't wear a tie. I see other people wearing ties. I didn't wear a tie. I'm sorry. Alright, so here's what I'm going to do for you guys. I'm going to talk about I didn't write a speech, by the way. So, sorry. I don't have the PowerPoint. But we're going to talk about incarceration in America, which is not what it says here. That's what it should say, though. And there's three main ideas that we're going to get around. It's going to be who was arrested, how they are arrested, and why they are arrested. Those are the three main ideas. We're going to talk about some other stuff, too. So what I want to get to is I want to get to what the issue is in America. And a lot of the numbers you're going to see, I'm going to be talking about marijuana specifically. And I'm going to talk about how that relates to how we treat the citizens in the U.S. and specifically how our justice system treats citizens in the U.S. So those are the three main ideas that we're going to get around: who's arrested, why they are arrested, and how they are arrested. I'm going to ask you guys a couple questions. I'm going to ask you guys to raise your hand for me. So the first question is, what do you know about me? Besides what Kevin told you, what do you know about me? What do you see? What do you acknowledge about the person that I am? Feel free to blurt it out, like I don't mind.
Take lots of pictures.
I take lots of pictures. What else? What do you know about me?
You have dreadlocks.
Am I going? Thank you.
You have dreadlocks.
My dreadlocks. That's one thing that you notice. What else do you notice?
You're African American.
I'm African American. That's one thing that you definitely see when you first see me. Is there anything else? Do you know what my job is? Do you know how I contribute to the community? Do you know if I donate money to charity? Are these things that you guys know about me from the jump? No. And that's the key idea I want you guys to remember. We're going to get to that in a minute. But first, well, actually, let's do it now. I didn't know. All right, so I was supposed to have the laptop up here to help me out. That's really what we're doing. Which is great. Anyway. All right, so let me tell you about me. My name is Cameron Edwards. I am the Communications Director of Students for Free Thought. I am a freshman. I'm a first-year student here at the University of Michigan. I am a communication major who focuses in media studies. I'm a photographer/videographer for the Michigan Times. I am a writer at the atheistteenager.com. I am a content manager for the Flint Youth Media Project. I am on the University of Michigan-Flint debate team. I am PR, historian, and marketing at the First Street Residence Hall Council. I am director of photography for a brand called Cameron Tyler Videos. So, based on this list, now what do you know about me? Has your knowledge... No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
You're a talented young man, and you've got a bright future.
Thank you. I got no tie like little boo. I can manipulate time, apparently. Apparently I can manipulate time. So basically you guys have gotten now you have a better sense of who I am. You have a better sense of my character based on the things that I've done here on this list. But you knew absolutely none of that, except for what Kevin told you, and those of you who know me personally. For those of you who did not know me at all, you knew absolutely none of that until I told you, right? Until we had a conversation, basically. And that's something I want you guys to remember. And now let me go, I'm going to get to that in a minute, but let me get on to this. Please raise your hand if you trust our justice system. And that's okay, there are no wrong answers. It's okay to trust our justice system. No one trusts our justice system. That says a lot. That says so much.
We have our reasons.
No, that's okay. That's okay. But that would mean if you didn't do the crime, then you won't do the time. Do you believe if you didn't do the crime, you won't do the time? That says a lot. No, but that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Raise your hand if you've ever been mistreated by our justice system in any way. Right? In any way. I mean, pulled over for something you didn't do. An officer talked to you the wrong way. You were sent to prison for 20 years for something that you didn't do. In any way, have you ever been mistreated me again? You don't have to if you don't want to, by the way. Cool. Awesome. Thank you. Now, raise your hand if you've ever felt like a target because of your race. Ever felt like a target because of your race? Awesome. Now, raise your hand if you've ever felt like a target because of how you were dressed. Target because of how you were dressed. Awesome. Cool. So, raise your hand if you believe that something should change within our justice system. Oh, that's a lot of you guys. That's about everybody, actually. So here's the idea. The idea is I believe that something should change in our justice system. So I'm going to present some numbers and some facts to you guys. And based on these statistics, we're going to talk about, well, not at the end, I guess at the end of this whole thing. You guys, you can ask me whatever you want, but I'm going to try to address the issue within our justice system so we can find a solution. So earlier I told you about me, right? And most of you knew absolutely none of this about me until we actually had a conversation or I told you about me. But when you learned about me, your opinions and knowledge of me changed, right? Anybody disagree with that? That's accurate? Cool. So what I want to get by is our justice system is no different. In our justice system, because of this, our justice system is corrupted. Basically meaning that until an officer has a conversation with me, he doesn't know anything about me. He doesn't know whether I contribute to society. He doesn't know if I actually am important to the society. He doesn't know if I have goals. He doesn't know if I do any of these things until he actually has a conversation with me. And that's why I believe our justice system is corrupted based on this idea, and I'm going to get to that probably right now. So first we got to go through how... We're having a party over there, man. First we're going to get through how our justice system actually works. And I know it's a lot more complicated than this, but this is just a really simple rundown. So it starts with our officers, meaning that our public service workers generally our public service workers, our officers, the ones who are out to serve and protect us, start the entire system off by pulling you over or confronting you, arresting you, presenting you with a warrant, something of that sort, right? You have to be arrested, and then you have to be charged with a crime, right? Then you have to be arraigned, or you are held as someone who is awaiting trial. You cannot be held for a given amount of time without trial. In this time, you may or may not be offered a plea deal. If you choose to deny a plea deal, you'll be forced to stand trial. You can be judged by a jury of your peers. You can, because you cannot not to. After your trial, your peers must make a unanimous decision to find you guilty if you choose a trial by jury. And after this, you are sentenced for whatever crime that you may have committed. Obviously, it's a lot more complicated than that. I wish it was this simple. It's really not that simple. But that's the general rundown that we're going to need today. So, this is Noah. He's a friend of mine. I went to high school with him. You guys have no idea who he is, right? None of you know him? Good. Cool. We're not good, but whatever. Doesn't matter. Anyway, this is his girlfriend. I could not find a picture without his girlfriend there. That guy is good man. Anyway, so Noah graduated from high school just last June, like I did, right? And we were in the same graduating class. This is a picture of me. It's just me, right? What is different about me and him?
He's white.
He's white.
He has
That's
a
the main
girlfriend.
difference between me and him.
He has a girlfriend.
You can talk later. So, I actually disagree a little bit. There's a lot more differences between me and him, obviously, right? But that's all you guys noticed. You weren't wrong. But there's more than that. So, one is that his family makes $200,000 a year. He has never had a job in his entire... I hope he doesn't mind me doing this, by the way. I called him and asked him if I can use this picture, but I never told him I was using it. So, his family makes $200,000 a year. I feel like I'm all up in this thing. He's never had a job, and he doesn't pay for anything on his own, his family, but it's okay, you know, if I had a family that made $200,000, I'd probably do the same thing. So his family pays for everything that he has. He is not in college right now. So he doesn't have a job, he's not in college right now. He's not really getting clubs or anything. In high school, he did choir, which is how I met him, and he played baseball, and that was about it. He didn't really do much else, and he doesn't, now that he's not in now that he's not in high school, he doesn't play baseball, he doesn't do any clubs, or he's not really contributing to society, he's not really going to church, he's not doing anything that he would, at least he would consider considered to be something that's contributing to society. And it's fine if you're in that stage in your life. That's what's going on with him. Me, on the other hand, I do everything that you saw on that list, right? So that's the main difference between me and him, is the fact that I do all of those things on that list. He doesn't really do much besides, live, which is fine. I'm not trying to bash him for it, by the way. So don't think of him as a bad person, because he's a good person. And this is the idea that I want to get about. So based on those two things, the fact that I showed you guys a list earlier, and I said you guys don't know any of this about me until I actually have a conversation with you. It's the same with Noah. You know none of that stuff about Noah unless you have the opportunity to talk to Noah and so on. Another key difference between me and Noah is that I've been handcuffed 3 times. Noah has never had a confrontation with police in his entire life. I have been handcuffed 3 times. He has never had any confrontation with the police in his entire life. And the reason I wanted to tell you guys this is because the main thing that you knew between me and him was our skin color. And in all honesty, based on what I've told you before, I do the most to try to contribute to society. He doesn't do as much. Which is fine, he's young, but he doesn't do as much. I do a lot to contribute to society. But I've been handcuffed 3 times. He has never been confronted by the police. And by the way, these 3 times I've never broken the law. And to this day, I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't do anything, right? I know he said I manipulate time. That's literally all that I do. I don't do anything else, right? I don't have time to break laws if I wanted to. Maybe download some illegal music. The first time that I've even had a confrontation with the police was I was really young. I believe I was 12 years old. I was with my brothers in the car, me and my brothers. We were coming off the highway on Corona Road, and this cop truck blocks us coming in. And a bunch of state cops come out of nowhere behind us on this highway. It's never blocked, right? Cop does not approach our car. He doesn't ask us any questions. He doesn't take the time to see if I contribute to society or if my brothers contribute to society at all. All that happened was that he got out the car, left his door open, stayed behind his car, rolled his window down, put out his gun and said, "Get out the car." He said, put out his gun and said, "Get out the car." How old was my brother at that time? To two 18-year-olds and a 12-year-old. So we get out the car. We're put in the grass at gunpoint. And they handcuff all of us, including me, a 12-year-old. Handcuffed all of us. And I kid you not, we were in that grass. And by the way, I had allergies, right? I was very upset. So I'm in the grass. My face is in the grass. And we're held at gunpoint. No questions or anything. And I kid you not, one state officer goes up to, and this was a local cop that did it. A state officer goes up to the cop, and he says, and I quote, "You do know," and he started the sentence off with "you do know," which is funny. "You do know that not only is this the wrong license plate, but this is the wrong model. It's the wrong license plate and the wrong kind of vehicle that they were looking for. We were in a charge order, they weren't even looking for charges." So he unhandcuffs us and he smacks my back and he says, "My bad, man." And that was that. Second time, it was me, my brother, and my friend. My brother, I'm coming from a Jamaican family. My brother's named McCoy. He came in from from Jamaica when he was about 13. So it was me, my brother, McCoy, who still wasn't in America that long. And we were at the pool in our apartment complex. We lived there. It's a predominantly white complex, but we lived there, and we were by the pool. We were just hanging out by the pool, right? And how the apartment worked is that they locked the front gate so people who did not live there got in, but they left the other gate open for residents who live there, so they can come in on the side. Cop gets there. Somebody called the cops on us. I knew who did it. It was a white family who was sitting on the bench, probably about 200 feet away, on a bench, way over there. And they call the police, and they leave. shows up. He says, what are you guys doing? We're just mind our own business, hanging out, right? Just mind our own business. And he says, all right, this pool is closed, you guys need to leave. Like, no, we live here. Residents come in on the side. This door is locked so people who don't live here don't get in. But the residents come in on the side. And he says, he doesn't even check to see if that side is unlocked. But he just says, guys, we need you guys to leave. We got a call saying you guys were here, you guys were bothering people or something like that. And nobody was around anyway. But we need you guys to leave. Eventually, after talking to the cop for like 20 minutes of him telling us to leave, the complex that we live in, we ended up just leaving. Minding our own business. And then the last time, and I was 16 years old at this time, I was with a friend, and we put into this, like little community, and we had a friend. It was me, my friend Deontay, who was significantly older. I'm 16, he's about 18. I have a friend, and Deontay's friend was 18 in the back seat. You pull over in front of this house, and there's a cop just kind of sitting on the stop sign, sitting at the stop sign, just there in front of this guy's house. We didn't worry about it. We don't break any laws or anything. So we stopped in front of the house, and we stopped there because the guy in the back he brought some shoes from this guy earlier. He wanted to go pick up the shoes. So guy comes out the house, and then the guy gets out the car, and they meet halfway. There's no money exchanged because he already paid for the shoes. So he just hands him shoes. That's all that happens. And the cop doesn't do anything. So we're like, cool, cop doesn't do anything. He gets back in the car, but then D decides to get out the car to greet the guy who gave him the shoes. When D gets out the car, his name is Deontay, I call him D. When D gets out the car, cop gets out the car. Does not say anything to Deontay. He does, but he doesn't ask him any questions or anything. He pulls his gun out, says, get down on your knees, hands behind your head. So this position. Then he tells me to get out the car, 16, do the same thing, and the guy in the back seat who just got in the car, to get back out the car and do the same thing. So now we're all on our knees in the concrete, like this. They forcefully put our hands behind our backs, handcuffs us, not telling us anything. Eventually they put us in the back of a cop car. We were in the back of the cop car for almost an hour. Cop comes into the car eventually after that long period of time, which was psychologically brutal. And they're really uncomfortable, by the way. I've never been in the back of cop cars. They're plastic seats. Cop comes in the car, he just asks me some generic questions. What's your name? What's your address? What were you doing? Blah, blah, blah. I asked him what's going on. He says, I'll tell you in a minute. Gets out of the car. Leaves. Now, and we're in 3 separate cop cars now. And these 3 cops are just in the middle of the street talking to each other for another half an hour. Eventually, the cop comes back to the car, and he says, and I'll quote, hey, you guys were at the wrong place at the wrong time. We were looking for this exact car to show up at this exact spot at this exact time. This exact kind of car to show up at this exact spot at this exact time. You guys were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. They take us out of the car, they unhandcuff us, and they let us go. By the way, they searched the car. They completely ruined the car, and we had to clean it back up. Didn't do anything. Mind our own business. 3 times. Noah has never had an experience with the cops at all. So the reason I'll tell you this story is to try to put it in light of the only difference between me and Noah that you know of front hand is the fact that I'm black and the fact that he's not. You have no idea whether I contribute to society. You have no idea whether he contributes to society. And I'm going to get to this a little later. So, who do you think uses marijuana the most? Black people or white people? Tell me.
Caucasian.
You think Caucasian people use marijuana the most? Who else? Anybody else, I guess?
Mixture, like anything.
You think it's a mixture? It doesn't matter. Okay. College students. We're going to talk about ages 18 to 25 too. Actually, marijuana use is pretty much equal among blacks and whites. 2010, 14% of blacks and 12% of whites were reported using marijuana. In the past year, 2001, it was 10% of whites and 9% of blacks. And every year from 2001 to 2010, more whites than blacks between the ages of 18 and 25 reported using marijuana. In the previous year, this is from the ACLU. So between the ages of 18 to 25 is more whites. If you put it on a broad spectrum, 2% more black people. So those are the numbers. So by the way. If you're an African American, you are more than 8 times more likely to be arrested for the use of marijuana than white people. 8 times more likely, which is an incredibly high number. The black arrest rate per 100,000 is 1,454. And for white people, it doesn't even reach 200. Doesn't even reach 200 in the state of Iowa. You can look at that whole chart, it's kind of scary. Arrest rates for marijuana possession by race. This is 2010, this is coming from the ACLU. So on the northeast, this is white people. This is black people. Per 100,000 people. On the west side, slightly better. Still absolutely terrible. Blacks and whites use marijuana at about the same rate. Marijuana use by race. And I told you, like I said, I gave you these numbers before. So this is white people and this is black people. So the bars, we close. This is percentage. I will grant this is percentage. The other one was per 100,000, but so the rate is about similar. Yet the arrest rates look like that. Oh wait, I'm going back. What am I doing? Here we go. This is 18 to 25. Every single year from 2001 to 2010, from 18 to 25, it's been Caucasian people who use marijuana more than African Americans. Yet the arrest rates does not show that. This is the percentage of people by race who has never used marijuana, ever. More African Americans have never used marijuana, ever. Between 2001 and 2010, it's coming from the ACLU again. This is arrest in New York City, excuse me, by race. So, this black bar is African Americans, and it's overwhelmingly huge. This bar is for white people, this bar is for Asians. But for African Americans, that bar is incredibly high, especially since blacks and whites use marijuana at about the same rate. This guy, his name is DeMarcus Sanders. He's 26 years old. He's from Waterloo, Iowa. So, let's say you are caught with marijuana, right? It can affect your life pretty drastically, and I want to tell you a little bit about Marcus. So Marcus was arrested for the use of marijuana. He has one son, and after the use, he was sentenced to 30 days in jail. He had possession of it, but he was sentenced to 30 days in jail. And after being sentenced to 30 days in jail, he still owes the state $2,346. He lost his driver's license. He lost his job, and he almost lost his son. Luckily, he still has his son, but he can't get his son to school because he no longer has a driver's license. He can't really pay his bills because he still owes the state over $2,000 for just having marijuana in his pocket and being at the wrong place at the wrong time and being the wrong skin color. DeMarcus was somebody who was minding his own business, was at the wrong place at the wrong time. He had marijuana on him, and his life would be dramatically affected for the rest of his life. He spent only 30 days in jail, but the rest of his life would be almost as bad as the 30 days that he spent actually in prison. This right here is an audio recording from Sean Hannity. He's going to be talking about, I'm going to go into how they are arrested. And we talked about incarceration rates among like races and things like that. We talked about who was arrested. Now we're going to talk about why we know that blacks are arrested more for marijuana use. Let's talk about how blacks are arrested in the process. This is an audio recording from Sean Hannity. He's going to talk to you about what he does when he's pulled over by the police.
I don't know how you are when you get pulled.
And actually, you know, let me put it in the context real quick. He was doing an interview, and in this interview, I don't remember who he was doing an interview with, but they were talking about targeting and talking about how police are more likely to And he went on to give his own personal account. He's not African American, never mind. He goes on to give his own personal account of what happens when he's pulled over by the police.
I don't know how you are when you get pulled over by a cop. I know how I am all the times. I don't want to hear your anti-cop diatribe today, Linda, because I can see it in your eyes. It's coming. But, you know, when a cop pulls me over, I put my hands outside of the car. If I'm carrying a weapon, which I'm licensed to carry in New York, the first thing I tell the police officer is, "Officer, I want you to know I have a legal firearm in the car." First thing I say to the officer. He'll ask, "Where is it?" You know, and I'll say it's in my holster. You know, he says, "All right, just keep your hands outside." That's usually the protocol. And then he said, "Can I have your license and registration, please? Move slowly." You know, and I often would even take my step out of the car, lift my shirt up so he could see where the gun is. And he'd hand over, "Yes, sir," "No, sir," writes me a ticket, "Yes, thank you, sir," and that's it. You battle the issue in court.
First of all, imagine being an African American getting on the car and pulling your shit up to show a gun. That's number one. But so that's his own personal account of what happens when he is put over by an officer. And that's how it's supposed to go. Unfortunately, that's not how it usually seems to be. I'm going to get to that in a minute. I don't know why he felt the need to provide his personal account because he's not an African American. But since he felt the need to do so, I decided to show you that. Then now I'm going to go in and show you this. This is a cop pulling up on a guy because he was not wearing his seatbelt. And this is how that happened.
Get your license, please. Get out of the car! Get out of the car! Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Put your hands behind your back. 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 What did I do, son? Are you hit? I think so. I can't get my leg. I don't know what happened. I just got my leg. Where's on that 669? Why did you shoot me? Well, you dove head first back into your car. I'm sorry. And you jumped back out and tell you to get out of your car. I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. All set.
The cop pulls up on him. And he says, "Get your license." First of all, the cop said that he dove headfirst into his car. Did he dive headfirst into his car? So he says, "Get his license." By the way, he's at the gas station, so he's already getting out the car, right? So he had to go back into the car to get his license. So he says, "Get his license." He goes, he turns around, not diving, he turns around, gets his license, comes back out to a cop shooting multiple rounds at him. And I don't know if you noticed, this shot, his hands are up. The cop fired 2 shots after his hands were up, showing that he had absolutely nothing. Just imagine if one of those shots just so happened to be fatal. That is a fatal weapon in a cop's hands. And he shot it with no hesitation to someone who's actually a human being. As a 24th, and I'm going to show you another video too. As of 2012, 24 states have stopped and identified laws. Regardless of your state's law, keep in mind that police can never compel you, that's not right anyway, to identify yourself without reasonable suspicion to believe you're involved in illegal activity. That's coming from militarization.org. There's an organization made up of lawyers who, and by the way, I'd highly recommend that you go to militarization.org. It's definitely a website that's meant for you to help learn about the law in a non-biased manner. Not what the police tell you, it's not what the judge tells you when you get arrested. It's real lawyers who get together, put together this organization, non-profit organization that really educate people on how the law actually works, so you're not criminalized by the people who are supposed to serve and protect us. But I want you to keep in mind that unless an officer has reasonable suspicion to believe you're involved in illegal activity, you do not have to identify yourself in any state in this entire country. I want you to keep that in mind when you watch this next clip. Oh, it's an advertisement. Skip it. Yeah, skip it.
no problem. That's the thing.
So talk to me, let me know.
And let you know. Why do I have to let you know who I am? Who I am isn't the problem.
Because that's what police do when they get
Well,
called.
I don't have to let you. Well, I know my rights, first off. Secondly, I don't have to let you know who I am if I haven't broken any laws. I told him, I'm going to New Horizons to pick up my kids at 10 o'clock. I was sitting there for 10 minutes. Fully. Like, not before he walked up to me or anything. He walked up to me a minute after and got irate with me. So first off, that's a public area. And if there's no sign that doesn't say this is a private area, you can't sit here, no one can tell me I can't sit here. If that's the case, then I can't sit here. The problem is I'm black. That's the problem. No, it really is, because I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not sitting there with a group of people. I'm sitting there by myself. By myself. Not causing a problem with anyone. There isn't a sign that says this is a private area, you can't sit here. Therefore, you cannot tell me I can't sit there if I'm not doing anything wrong. What's going on, brother? I gotta go get my kids. Please don't touch me. Please don't touch me. No, wait.
You're gonna go to jail.
I'm not doing anything wrong.
Hold on.
Can you
Hold on.
please?
I'm not
No, come on, brother.
I'm not here to argue.
Can
I'm not
you
your
please?
brother.
This is assault. Can you please?
I'm not here to argue with you.
Wrong, sir.
Put your hands behind your back.
No, can you please
Put
not
your hands
do
behind
this?
your back.
I didn't do anything wrong.
Put your hands behind your back.
Come on, really? I gotta go get my kids.
Put your hands behind your back, otherwise it's gonna get ugly.
What do you need from me?
I told you, I
Can
want
you
to
have
talk to
let me
you
go?
and identify you so
I
you can
told you
settle what
everything.
happened.
I haven't done
I
anything
told
wrong.
you what I wanted initially.
And that,
So you could settle all
Put your
this.
hands behind your
I
back.
started to.
Right now.
I haven't done anything wrong. Please, no, don't do this. Please, no. I haven't done anything wrong. I haven't done anything wrong. Can somebody help me? That's my kids right there. My kids are right there.
Put your hands behind your back.
Put your hands behind your back. Choke me. I'm not asking, sir. I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing anything. I'm not. Ow! Get down! I'm not doing anything. Stop, please. Someone help me. Someone please help me.
You see that goes on for quite a while. This guy was sitting on a bench waiting to pick up his kids from school. And he was sitting there for literally 10 minutes. Somebody called the police on him. Police show up. He's talking to him in a calm manner and he's saying, look, I'm literally not doing anything. And as the law that I showed you previously, he was exercising that. He's saying, I don't have to identify myself if you have no reason to actually, to suspect me of breaking any laws. When you came over here, I literally was sitting there minding my own business. So the police get him. Another guy comes up, and here's when he got kind of loud. He got loud when that cop came over here, and he threatened him and said, you're going to go to jail. You're going to go to jail, which is a threat that is tossed out there in today's society. You're going to go to jail. Going to jail can ruin your entire life. It will ruin your life. And he easily threw that threat to him. You're going to go to jail. If you don't do exactly what we tell you, even though you don't have to do what I'm telling you by law, you're going to go to jail. Eventually they tased him, and you heard the taser in front of his kids. He was just trying to pick up his kids from school. Minding his own business. And in a matter of 3 minutes, he was tased and taken to jail. For doing literally nothing. So, because of things like that, we have charts like this. So blacks' confidence in local police treating blacks and whites equally has dropped. So this bar right here shows how many blacks have just some confidence in blacks and police treating blacks and whites equally. And that number dropped here. There are people who had a great deal or a fair amount of trust that police are treating blacks and whites equally. That number dropped just slightly. Right here, very little went up, while just some was going down. So people that were on the fence over time hopped over. All right, now I have now I don't have trust. I don't think they're going to treat us equally. So between 2007 and 2014, this one the Washington books, by the way. But between 2007 and 2014, that number jumped insanely. So let's talk about why they are arrested, right? We know that they're arrested for marijuana, but I'm going to talk to you a little differently on why blacks are the ones who's targeted the most for these marijuana crimes. And I just want to show you this real quick. This amount of, this chart shows of all Americans who are arrested for violent crimes. So white people are arrested the most for violent crimes. African Americans are right here, and the other races are kind of way down. So this is arrested for violent crimes, you know, armed robberies, rapes, murders, assaults, things like that. But this is the incarceration rates by race. This is coming from the Federal Bureau of Justice. So black people are per 1,000, 2,207. White people are literally only 380. So, if whites are arrested the most for violent crimes, yet you come to this graph and you see how many blacks are in prison, period. There is a huge difference between the amount of people who are arrested for violent crimes and the amount of people who are arrested for drug-related crimes, non-violent drug-related crimes. So why is this happening? And I did a little research in psychology, and I think this is something that's very important. I want everybody to walk out. I don't care what your race is or anything. I want everybody in here to walk out with this idea. The social identity theory. The social identity theory is the idea that based on your social identity, you already can predict the kind of person that you are. Earlier, I presented you guys with a whole list of the things that I did, and I asked you guys to tell me those things, but you can't unless you actually know who I am and have a conversation with me. The only social identities of mine that you know is that I'm black. That's it, right? And that I'm young and that I'm able-bodied. I'm young, I'm able-bodied, and I'm black. Those are the social identities that you know. And because of this, you're already able to pin the idea that I may be using marijuana, that I may be participating in violent crime. If I'm with a group of people, then I'm probably up to no good. You know, I was at the wrong place at the wrong time, but they took the risk of saying, I'm pretty sure he's up to no good, so let's go for him, right? I remember one time I was at the mall, I was with a friend, we went to Victoria's Secret, don't judge me. It was me and a friend of mine who went to Victoria's Secret, it's a female. She wanted to go into the changing room. I said, I am not about to wait in here by myself while you're in the changing room, so I stepped outside, and I was outside Victoria's Secret. 10 minutes later, I see two guards just kind of watching me, and then someone else comes to me and they say, finally somebody comes to me and they say, we need you to move because it really looks like you're stealing. We need you to move because it looks like you're stealing. I was there for 10 minutes, outside of Victoria's Secret. First of all, what am I going to steal with Victoria's? I don't know. I was outside in front of Victoria's Secret, and the first thing that came to my mind was, if I was a white man wearing a suit, would that have happened? If I was a white man wearing a suit, would I have been told to move because it looks like that I'm stealing something? My hands are not actively doing anything. I'm literally just doing this. So does this look like stealing? No? So, the social identity theory is the fact that because I'm black, you were able to pin the idea that I am more likely to be committing a crime based on my skin color, even though white Americans are arrested the most for violent crimes. And then for marijuana crimes, blacks and whites are at the same rate. But I'm probably more likely to be committing a crime because of what you've seen from me based on my skin color. So that's the social identity theory. For example, I see an Asian, I'm pretty sure that he's probably smart, right? Or if I see a white person, that he's probably more trustworthy. That's the idea. And this is, I think, is a reason. This is something I think we need to address. And I'm going to get to this in a minute. So what is the problem? People are being sent to prison for something that hardly harms the user. Hamburgers harm you too. Prison will ruin your life, by the way. I'm not even saying that it should be illegalized or legalized or whatever. My opinion on that is not relevant at this moment. But since it is illegal, this non-violent crime that hardly harms yourself will ruin your entire life. People are being sent to prison for something that does not harm others. Oh, went back. In the process, black people are targeted for using marijuana, regardless of who's actually using it. And in the process of that, black people are often abused by those who protect the service. The social identity theory makes it very difficult for us to have a fair justice system. So what is the solution? The first step is knowing that the problem is real. I heard a quote once, I have no idea where I heard it from, it was literally like 2 days ago, so I don't know, I forgot. They said, you can act as if the problem doesn't exist, but you can no longer say that you don't know that it exists. now we all know that the problem exists. And one of the biggest components, opponents, or the adversary of the social identity theory is the fact that we know. I know that because he's black, I know that usually I would have the idea that he's up to no good. But now I know, based on the social identity theory, that he's probably a good person. He's not doing anything. I'm not doing anything, so why should I assume he's doing anything? Same thing for white people. I cannot assume that because somebody's white, they're doing math or something. I can't make those kind of assumptions. I can't make those kind of assumptions based on the social identity theory. So now this is a tool that you all can walk out of this room with, right? So this is a picture of me, by the way. My name is Cameron Edwards. This is my email. I do music videos, so Cameron Solid videos, hit me up. That's my email if you want to contact me. We're doing questions after this. We had a couple more speakers. I took an incredibly long time. So I do apologize, especially you, Kevin, because I said 20 minutes. That was like I don't know how long it was. So thank you guys very much. And we got a couple speakers. There's also pizza back here, and we got drinks, so do not leave. Please ask questions. I really want you guys to get involved. It's a dialogue.